Good afternoon, duelists. Jules here, back with, of course, another deck tech and some gameplay. The current season of Master Duel is just coming to a close. We are in the final hours right now, so things are about to reset. I wanted to show you the deck that I've played nearly exclusively this season and made it all the way up to Diamond with, so I can pat myself on the back for that. I have gone to the dark side. I've sold out. We are playing SwordSOUL. Now, let's take a look at the deck. There's a few different ways that you can play the SwordSOUL archetype. I'm choosing to play pure SwordSOUL with the DPE package. There are ways that you can incorporate Tenyi, I've even seen some that incorporate the Albaz in the branded stuff as well. But I like the pure version, so this is what I'm working with today. Let's get the boring stuff out of the way. We have all sorts of hand traps and staples. Obviously, 3 Maxx, a single Veiler, just in case. 3 Ash Blossom, Enjoy Spring. We've got our 2 Called Bys to hit anything in the grave. That's very good against other decks that are playing DPE, as well as good against other SwordSOUL decks because there is a bit of interaction with the grave. Got 2 Crossout Designator, of course. That's really the only reason that we're playing the singular effect Veiler, is so that we can pitch it to Crossout Designator, as well as Forbidden Droplet. Though Forbidden Droplet does have a bit of extra synergy just because, like I said, we do want to be putting our SwordSOULs in the graveyard. 3 Infinite Impermanence as well. And then 3 Pot of Desires, because there is also a considerable amount of synergy with banishing cards. That's what we got in terms of all of the boring stuff. We also have the Fusion Destiny package, so DP in the sideboard, Predaplant, Verte, Anaconda, so that we can activate Fusion Destiny without actually having to draw it. The 2 Fusion Destinies, of course, and then our 2 Destiny heroes. That'll be Dasher and Celestial. Celestial, of course, allows us to banish from the grave to draw 2 cards when we have no cards in hand. So that's a great way to extend, which oftentimes we will run everything out, set a few, and then be able to actually activate Celestial. All right, so that's the kind of generic easy stuff. Let's talk about the deck itself. So SwordSOULs are a series of 3 main deck monsters. We have Moye, Taya, and Longwong. I apologize to the Chinese people who I am currently butchering your language, but it is what it is. And then a few extra deck synchro monsters, notably Chixiao and Chang Ying. All of the SwordSOUL monsters have a condition that will allow them to summon a tuner level 4 water type SwordSOUL token to the field, and then a effect that will trigger when they are sent to the graveyard and used as synchro material. Moye is the ultra rare. This one is the best. This can be triggered whether it's normal, special summoned. All you have to do is reveal a SwordSOUL card, any SwordSOUL card, or worm monster. This is where the Tenyi effects come in. All the Tenyis are worm monsters. You can reveal one of those, and then you get to special summon your SwordSOUL token. And then when this is sent to the grave, you actually can draw a card. The nice thing about this is that they all trigger when they're sent to the grave for synchro material, so you actually can chain block the effects that you might have of the synchro monster that you are summoning. So we'll get to that in a little bit when we get to the extra deck. Taya can banish a SwordSOUL or worm monster from your grave to get the token, and then it can actually send a SwordSOUL from your deck to the grave when it is used as synchro material. Longwong is our 6-star, so this allows us to get into generally 10-star synchro plays. You have to discard a SwordSOUL or worm monster to special summon that, and then when this goes to the grave, when it's used as synchro material, you actually can burn for 1200. So a nice way to get it in some chip damage, especially even if you're just going first and you're not going to be able to OTK someone. We're also playing 3 Incredible Ecclesia. This can tribute itself at quick effect speed to summon a SwordSOUL from the deck. So this functions as whatever SwordSOUL you need at the time, though generally not Longwong, because Longwong specifically needs to be special summoned from the hand by discarding a card to get you that token. We're also playing 3 SwordSOUL Emergence. This is just our reinforcement of the army. It finds us any SwordSOUL. It also has a benefit: when it's banished, you can modulate the level by 1 of one of your SwordSOUL monsters. And then we have 2 SwordSOUL Sacred Summit. This is basically our Monster Reborn. When this is banished, once again, we can modulate a level. The banishing effects of the Emergence and the Sacred Summit allow us to get to our 7s and our 9s. Generally, we can only access 8s and a few 10s, but this will allow us to get to those different synchro levels if we wanted to. Sometimes we do. Finally, we're playing 2 SwordSOUL Blackout. This is an excellent trap, and oftentimes you're able to add an additional SwordSOUL card past what you're already making out of the extra deck. This will destroy 1 worm monster that you control and 2 cards that your opponents control. And then if this is banished, you can actually get that SwordSOUL token as well. So if you need to extend, you can banish this from the grave if it's already been used, or you can, of course, send it with things like Forbidden Droplet. All right, so that is the deck as a whole. I'll talk about the general lines as we go through the gameplay, but let's look at the extra deck real quick. So, of course, like I said, we have Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, we have Verte Anaconda, we have a single Nightmare Unicorn. I literally have never made this, so I'm open to changing this out for something. And I also additionally had a Borreload Savage Dragon in here, but that was never being made, and I was never getting able to activate the negate, of course, because I was never putting Link monsters in the graveyard. I actually swapped that out for a second Baxia, which we'll get to. First, let's talk about our SwordSOULs. Xixiao is probably the one you're going to make as your first play of the game, essentially, once you've got your Moye out or something like that. This will either search you in a SwordSOUL on summon, and once again, that's great because you can chain block with Moye, and it also has a quick effect where you can banish a SwordSOUL card from your graveyard. Hence, the synergies with banishing our spells so we can modulate levels. And you can use that effect from Xixiao to negate the effects of a face-up monster on the field. And then we have the single Cheng Ying. This gets a buff for all of the banished cards. This plus Pot of Desires is an absolute house, of course, and also it makes your opponents lose that much attack and defense, similar to Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer's ability. If it would be destroyed, you can banish cards from your graveyard, and then whenever a card is banished, so whether that's from Cheng Ying's effect, SwordSOUL Taya's effect, banishing to summon the token, or from Xixiao's effect, banishing to negate a monster's effects, you get to banish a card from your opponent's field and also from their graveyard, and that is non-targeting. Unfortunately, it contends at the level 10 spot with Baronne de Fleur, who is generally just a better card to have, especially if I'm setting up on turn 1. I would much rather have that negate on the field or be able to immediately pop something if we're going second. We're playing a few of the Yangzing, Tenyi, various worm synergy cards. We have our Ayazi, which is one of our 7, so this is a little bit harder to get to, but it's possible. You can use this just for removal and also to pull stuff out of your deck. When you destroy this card by card effect, you can actually special summon a worm monster from a deck. All of our SwordSOULs are worms, in fact, so we can get whichever one we might need. We have a Crimson Blader for some hot tech. This is actually a kind of like a lock on their extra deck. If it destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, they can't special summon anything level 5 or higher during their next turn. So if we're going second and we're in the clear, we can summon this, go over our opponent's monster, and prevent them from really doing anything next turn if we're not able to OTK, which generally we are. We have 2 Baxia. This is excellent. I actually just, like I was saying, I just switched out Borreload Savage Dragon for the second Baxia. This is an 8, so it's easy to get into. And then when it's synchro summoned, you can shuffle cards on the field up to the number of attributes used for it back into the deck. The best way to make this is with the SwordSOUL of Taya, because this will summon the Tuner token, which is a water, and this is a wind attribute, so you can actually shuffle 2 cards back with Baxia, which is excellent. Also have a White Aura Whale. You can't make full value Baxia with Moye because Moye is water and the token is water. You can go into White Aura Whale. This is a bit of a cheekier pick. I could see you switching this out for something else, but this is a house and definitely a fun card. Finally, we have Draco Berserker of the Tenyi, which is once again an absolute house. So many good, powerful synchro monsters at 8, and we can access them so easily. It's actually pretty ridiculous. Whenever a monster's effect is activated, you can banish that card, and then this gets buffs when it destroys your opponent's monsters in battle and can actually make additional attacks as well. So Draco Berserker of the Tenyi, absolute staple. Last 2 cards in the extra deck, Baguska, because this just randomly hoses things, and then if you are able to make Bazooska, you can go into Zeus, and there's no reason to not include Zeus if you have the opportunity. So the extra deck actually has like a little bit of flexibility. I definitely think you could take out Nightmare Unicorn, you could definitely take out White Aura Whale, even Crimson Blader, and put in other things of your choice, but these are cards that I like, and they've done well so far. I do think I will take out Nightmare Unicorn though. Yeah, that's the deck. Let's get into the games. All right, so here we are in game 1. Let's look at our opening hand real quick. We're on the play. We have 2 Emergence and a Long Long. So this is really good. We can fire off the Pot of Desires, try and get some extra gas. SwordSOUL Emergence, we can only activate once per turn, of course, but this will get us something at which we can then pitch 2 Long Long. We fire off the Emergence there, grabbing the Moye. We know we can normal the Moye, show off the Long Long because we are going to summon it later in the turn, and then we can pitch the extraneous SwordSOUL Emergence to the Long Long later in the turn. I choose to fire off the Pot of Extravagance there because I wanted to make sure that I got Moye with Emergence first, just in case we bricked off Extravagance or happened to banish a bunch of things. That is a risk that you do play in this deck. You can just end up banishing a bunch of stuff, especially usually parts of your Fusion Destiny package, which isn't the worst. But then I wanted to see what we were working with, just in case I can extend. And we're actually able to do this. I decided to go for Incredible Ecclesia here, normal summon her, and then special summon a Moye from the deck, just to further thin out the deck and make sure that we have as many resources as possible. So we have Moye. We will reveal the Long because we know we're going to summon that later in the turn. We'll get our token. We'll go up into Chi-Xiao. Now here is the first cute stuff that you can do with this deck, right? Chainlink 1 Chi-Xiao, Chainlink 2 Moye, so that we can block the search from Chi-Xiao. Chi-Xiao, technically, you can only activate the search or the monster negate once each turn, but since we're going first, our opponent doesn't have anything. I feel comfortable here ripping the search and then also getting a draw, of course, off Moye. We actually draw another long. Since we're so flush with Sword Souls already, this is when I take the chance to add the more utility Sword Soul cards. So I could have added something like a Sacred Summit. I choose to add Blackout because we're going to have plenty of things. Might as well just have more interaction just in case our opponent is playing a very resilient deck. Now I'll activate Long, pitching the Extraneous Emergence. We don't need that right now. And then we will go up into Barone. Like I said, I do love Cheng Ying, but Barone generally is better, especially when you're going first. And then we'll get to Burn, of course, with the Long when it goes to the grave. We're going to set the Imperm and the Blackout and have a pretty powerful opening board. All right, so our opponent is on the Lair of Darkness, Darklord sort of thing. They're going to fire off the Lair of Darkness. This is kind of the linchpin of the deck, I would say, so I really wanted to negate that, make sure that that was just gone. They're going to activate Fang of Critias, summoning the Mirror Force Dragon. Now, this is a card that I've never seen, but it does cause a bit of problems. You basically get to nuke your opponent's board whenever anything happens, right? Either it's attacked or it's targeted by an opponent's card effect. We do want to be able to attack, so we're going to have to deal with this sooner or later. Opponent activated their Lilith and are going to go digging off the top of their deck. And they're going to immediately set and then set a third card and pass it back to us. All right, so we are in a bit of a predicament, but I think we can get past this. I'm going to lead by activating the Baron de Fleur, targeting the Mirror Force Dragon, attempting to pop it. That will trigger its effect, right? It will go to attempt to destroy all of our cards. In response, I'm going to fire off the Imperm, mostly because I want to make sure that not only am I negating the Mirror Force Dragon, but I'm also going to conveniently negate anything that middle spell column might try and activate. Our opponent's going to chain Ring of Destruction, targeting our Chi-Xiao. With this, I'm going to activate Sword Soul Blackout. I know that our Chi-Xiao is going down, so I might as well take it out myself with the Sword Soul Blackout and target those other two set cards. Quite the chain, but we should be able to remove basically our opponent's entire board. And there we go. Everything resolves, and we are left standing with a Barone. We are now able to activate Long again. We'll pitch the Moye, and now we can synchro up into Cheng Ying. This will trigger our Long. We will be able to burn for 1200, and we easily have lethal with all of the banished cards off of the Pot of Desires. All right, so we're back in game 2. Let's take a look at what we've got. We are, once again, on the play. Our hand, once again, very powerful. Obviously, Ecclesia can get us any Sword Soul that we need, generally going to be Moye. We have Taya there as well to come down and banish anything that we might synchro off earlier. We have Emergence, which is always want to see in our opening hand just because, once again, it gets us anything that we need. And, of course, Sword Soul Sacred Summit is actually very nice as well because that gives us an additional special summon of something like a Taya if we happen to pitch it to maybe a Long. Going to lead with the Emergence and grab the Moye. I elect to use the Moye for the normal summon, not the Ecclesia. We will show the Taya and get our token. Now we'll sync up into Chi-Xiao. Once again, Chi-Xiao Chainlink 1, Moye Chainlink 2, just to protect that from, Ash Blossoms are running rampant in the format, of course. Draw Called by the Grave. That's a very nice pickup. And then we'll add that Long Wong to the hand. So we're going to trigger Long Wong, pitching that Taya, and like I said, that will allow us to Sacred Summon that back later. But first, of course, we have to go into the lady herself, Barone to floor, just so we can set up that negate. Trigger that Long Wong. That damage is always wonderful, and every time I forget about it, it just feels so good to trigger. We'll Sacred Summon back the Taya, allowing us to banish the Sacred Summon. Our opponent elects to Effect Veiler here, but we actually have the Called by the Grave. I do want one additional monster from the extra deck, so I'm willing to fire the Called by the Grave right now, even though it's not too huge of a deal if they negate the Taya. Much worse if they negate potentially your Moye and you can't even go into your first Chixiao. Now, we're going to go up into Draco Berserker the Tenyi just so they have that banish ability, and we will set the Imperm and pass the turn. Our opponent's going to lead with a Sky Striker Jamming Wave. They'll kill all our Imperm, but that's all right. They're going to go into Hayate from the Rose. We are going to attempt to negate the Hayate's effect. I don't want them attacking directly, and I don't want them adding Engage. They're going to chain Eagle Booster, but they're going to attack directly. They actually elected to send the Rose, which I guess is just a hedge now that we see that they're going to drop the Raigeki. I will negate with the Baron. I cannot afford to lose this board, even if they only have a singular Sky Striker. We'll negate the Raigeki, and then they'll go up into Shizuku. Shizuku will trigger, and I will actually chain Berserker the Tenyi to banish the Shizuku since it did attempt to add a card. Now, they still get to add the Engage. That's unfortunate, but I'm feeling much stronger. They get to add back Rei to the field since the Shizuku did leave. In the draw phase, I'm actually going to fire out the Chixiao just because I want to force them to use the quick effect on Rei to go up into a Link monster. One, so we can attack over and deal some damage, and also just so we can better prepare for any shenanigans they might have. They're going to, of course, fire off the Rei. A Kaina. Now, Kaina doesn't see that much play, but it does have the ability to prevent one of our creatures from attacking. So when they go for that, I will chain Berserker the Tenyi again and banish that, which will trigger Rei again. Rei's back. Can't get rid of her, except for I can pop her. The Rei quick effect is only once per turn, and they had already used it, of course, in the draw phase. So we are able to pop with Barone, and then I'm going to normal summon Ecclesia and get ashed immediately. That's fine. We still have plenty of damage on the field. All right, we'll attack in for 28. Attack in for 3,000. Now, we weren't able to attack with the Barone because the Kaina, I forgot about that, even though we did banish it. Berserker of the Tenyi does not negate the effect. It just banishes the card when the effect is activated. So we weren't able to get in for lethal, but our opponent's at 1,000. Fingers crossed there's not much that they can do. Now, Engage is pretty darn good. I do believe we knew they had that. They're going to add Vector Blast, which is not a commonly played Sky Striker card, but they're going to fire it off. It's going to send the top few cards of each of our decks to our library. They're going to special summon the Rose and then go up into Gagari, attempting to get back the Widow Anchor. I'm going to Effect Veiler the Kagari. They're going to fire off the Pot of Inquisitiveness to shuffle back some of the banished things and then attempt to draw some cards. That Widow Anchor taking one of our monsters, especially since we've utilized most of the effects on them this turn, would have been absolutely killer. So we needed to Effect Veiler that Kagari. Now they're going up into Shizuku again. Ooh, a nice Royal Rare Shizuku. But listen, we have far too many attack points, and they have to wait until the end of their turn to even get a card from the deck. All right, so here we are, Game 3. This time we're actually on the draw, and we are against what appears to be the Mirror, or at least the Tenyi SwordSOUL version. Our opponent's going to special summon Vishuddha and then link into Monk of the Tenyi. Then they're going to normal summon SwordSOUL of Taya and banish that worm type monster that is technically the thing you can do, and then go up into Chixiao. Now they're going to activate SwordSOUL of Taya to chain block. Nice. And they're going to send another of their Tenyi and then search out a Long Wong from the deck with the Chixiao trigger. Now, we do have the Ash, but unfortunately, it's hard for us to hit anything because, like I said, that chain block. I am going to Ash the Ashana just because That's a singular thing, and I don't want them to be able to special summon anything from the deck. They're actually going to go up into Shaman of the Tenyi. Now, this is a weird play for me. I wasn't really sure why they decided to sacrifice their Chi-Xiao. It's such a powerful card. And Shaman of the Tenyi is fine. Here we are. They are going to now, of course, activate the effect of Shaman of the Tenyi to bring back the Chi-Xiao. They don't get the search trigger, but it will be able to negate during our turn. All right, lead with a SwordSOUL Emergence. See if we can bait out. There's an Ash. Now, I do have the crossout designator, and I really need this search, so I will be crossing out that Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. SwordSOUL resolves, and I'm going to get the SwordSOUL of Ataya. Normal Ecclesia, go to Moye. We will show off that we have the Taya. They're going to activate Chi-Xiao, attempting to negate our Moye. Now, that will resolve, but it's not the end of the world. We do have the Pot of Desires, and we have gone through, I think, pretty much all the negates that they will have. Yeah, we're able to easily draw 2 things, and then I can normal summon the SwordSOUL of Taya. They're going to negate it, but we can actually go up into our Baguska, since those are both rank 4s, and we're able to walk over the Shaman of the Tenyi at least to make sure that they can't continue to that value engine. Now, of course, obviously, any Xyz can go up into Zeus, and I decide to just fire off the Zeus, even though I don't have the double activation. Being able to get rid of the Chi-Xiao, since it's already used its negate for the turn, make sure that we're going good. Now, our opponent's going to attempt to special summon Long. I'm going to fire the Maxx. I'd love to, one, dissuade them from attempting too many heinous plays, and also, obviously, get the draw. That's another lovely thing about Maxx on, like, the SwordSOUL, is that you are special summoning all these tokens, and it's individual triggers, so you can get a bunch of cards off of a single activation of any of the SwordSOULs. Our opponent goes into Ruddy Rose Dragon, which is a problem. It can jump over our Zeus, and also has a negate and a special summon inherent to it. Our opponent triggers the effect of Ruddy Rose Dragon when it's Synchro Summon, which will banish all cards from all graveyards, and then also, of course, will burn us for 12 with the Long. And then go, and they do, in fact, attack over our Zeus. We didn't have anything we do about it, but it's fine. I'm feeling reasonably confident our opponent has no cards in hand, and only the single negate on Ruddy Rose Dragon. Always nice to lead off with the Emergence, just find whatever we need. We have the Taya. We can activate the Long, pitching the Moye, because I want to keep my normal summon for the Taya, and then we will sync up into now the Cheng-Ying. Oh, well, that was quick, but we got there. We were going to easily be able to, with all the banished cards, I think we might have even had lethal attacking over the Ruddy Rose Dragon, and if not, we had the Taya we could have activated, which would have banished a SwordSOUL from our grave, the ones that we just synced off, and I probably would have gone into Baxia there to actually shuffle the Ruddy Rose back in without triggering it, because it only triggers if it was going to be destroyed. Alrighty, so back on the play again. Our hand is basically anything we could have imagined, right? Some combination of Long Moye plus another card gets us at least 2 powerful Synchro Bosses, if not more. Lead with the Emergence just to see if we can bait out an Ash. We get the Taya. We're very, very nicely lucky. We'll activate the Long. We can pitch the Moye, which we are going to use as fodder for the Taya. We'll special summon our token. We'll Synchro up into, of course, Barone. Make sure we have a negate on the field for the rest of our plays this turn. We'll burn. We will normal summon our Taya, banishing the Long, and allowing us to sync into Chi-Xiao. Chi-Xiao will trigger. We will chain SwordSOUL of Taya once again just to protect our search, just in case our opponent was saving the Ash for this. We're going to add Sacred Summit to the hand, and we can fire off the Sacred Summit and actually bring back the Moye. We have not used the Moye effect, and we have that errant SwordSOUL Emergence still in our hand, so we can show it, special summon a token, and actually go up into Draco Berserker of the Tenyi. Now I'll be able to trigger Moye, draw a card, and we can actually set to a Crossy and an Imperm and pass the turn. Pretty formidable board, if I do say so myself. Now our opponent does have a Pot of Extravagance. That is a good start, so I am going to negate that. I do not want them drawing any cards, especially if they're playing some deck that doesn't care about the extra deck. Generally, those are the more all-in combo decks. I don't want them having anything. They're playing freaking Toon with a Royal Toon bookmark. All right, so they add Toon World. They're going to set a card, activate Toon World, and then they're going to set comic hand and actually take our Barone. We've already used our negate, so they're going to be able to do everything that they want freely. They're going to activate Page Flip and actually get a Toon Blackluster Soldier. And now, since all their cards are Toons and they have Toon World, they can actually attack directly. So we are quickly in a precarious situation, down to 2,000 life, but we will be able to play through this. We draw Taya. That's a good draw off the top. I'm going to lead with the Emergence just to see if I can bait anything out. We also, of course, have the Long Wong. We can normal summon the Taya, which will allow us to banish the Emergence and special summon our token. Now, I remember debating here for quite a long time in terms of what I wanted to summon. We have the Baxia, so I can shuffle some cards back in. Unfortunately, I cannot shuffle the monsters back in because they can't be targeted while Toon World is out. I target the Toon World and the set card just to see if I can either bait something. They are going to go for Toon Briefcase, which will send back our Baxia, but luckily will not negate the Baxia's effect. So, since the Baxia's effect was not negated, we were able to shuffle Toon World back in. That triggers the Toon Glove. Toon Glove will destroy itself if Toon World is not on the field. And luckily, we are able to actually get our Barone back with the Toon Glove leaving the field. So now we've reclaimed our board state and dismantled most of our opponents. We just have to get past this Blackluster Soldier. And with putting the Barone on the stack, targeting the Blackluster Soldier, our opponent will surrender. We had easily lethal there, and they were going to have a singular card in hand. All right, so final game. We are on the draw again. I was getting extremely lucky with the coin flips, I will say, especially in the past week or so. Our hand certainly has a lot to be desired. Love to see Fusion Destiny, and of course we have SwordSOUL cards that can assist, but really we need those SwordSOUL monsters in our opening hand. We do have the Pot of Desires. Pot of Desires, of course, is always a potentially risky play just because you can banish the things that you need. Lead off with the Pot of Desires. Hopefully we don't banish anything too crucial off the top, and our opponent's actually going to Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. That really freaking hurts, but we do have ways to recover. Unfortunately, we banished our Celestial, so we're not able to even activate Fusion Destiny. I set 2 cards just to potentially bluff and see if we can draw some hate from our opponent. Our opponent now sets 2 cards as well. We draw an Emergence, probably the best draw in our deck, allows us to get a Moye, and we kept the SwordSOUL Blackout for this very situation in case we needed to either discard or reveal a card. Now, our opponent's going to Maxx, so they are going to draw some cards here. But we're going to go up into Chi-Xiao, pretty standard, usual. We will be able to, now our opponent is drawing a bunch of cards, we will be able to chain block our search for a SwordSOUL. And of course draw a card. Now Ash Blossom, that's pretty nice. We are not going to be OTKing this turn, so having that in our hand is great. We can activate our Long Wong, pitching the Blackout. Don't love to pitch the Blackout, but we've got to do what we got to do. We need board presence. Our opponent drawing a bunch of cards, but we are going to go into Chang Ying. Chang Ying gets mega boosted. And actually, I take it back. We are OTKing this turn with the burn from Long Wong. We're able to go through it. Our opponent drew a bunch of cards, but it doesn't matter. We can deal a bunch of damage. And that Pot of Desires, even though it did get ashed, ended up actually being their downfall. Able to boost our Chang Ying up by a significant amount just by banishing all those cards off Pot of Desires. And we're back. That's the deck. Extremely powerful deck. And like I said, I have essentially played this exclusively and got all the way up into Diamond with it. Very powerful, resilient deck. And the basic lines are very simple and easy to execute, but there can be a lot of nuance depending on your game state and your matchup. So would definitely recommend this list. I know that's not a hot take at all. This is very much meta, but I mean, sometimes if you can't beat them, join them. And I think it's a fun deck to play. All right. You guys know the drill. Like, comment, hit me up on Twitter. Twitch streams coming soon. Jules out.